Why do I need Jesus? Well, the first reason that I need Jesus is because I live in a world filled with alienation. And I can promise you, when I spoke at Ole Miss this past week, and I talked about divorce, it got real quiet. Because we all know that one of the most painful things that can happen in life is that we get separated from those we love. And our families blow up. And nobody that I know of got married in order to blow up their marriage. But it's amazing how we as human beings really do have a sin problem, as Jesus said. And we can be mean suckers to each other. And you don't have to take it from me. You don't even have to take it from Jesus. Just look at the divorce rate. Just get in touch with people who tried to love each other and found it impossible. And I understand that, because I can promise you my wife has had to forgive me. And if my wife had not forgiven me, we wouldn't be married any longer. And I can promise you I had to forgive my wife. And if I hadn't forgiven my wife, we wouldn't be married any longer. Because we have this uncanny, innate ability as human beings to whoop up on each other. Oh no, I don't engage in domestic violence, and I doubt anybody here does. But we sure can verbally abuse each other. We sure can be self-absorbed and mean. And eventually we get to the point where husband looks into wife's face and wife looks into husband's face, and the major emotion is contempt. I know you real well, and you're totally unimpressive, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life with you. And then you get to live with the children of those blown up marriages, and you begin to see, when you're at Ole Miss this past week, that it leaves scars. That's just one example of alienation. And we can go on through racism, sexism, manipulation on the job, in the workforce. We can just keep going. And it's a sad list of sins that lead directly to alienation. Jesus Christ says, I come to bring peace. I want to teach you to be a peaceful person who works for peace in the family, on the job, in the school, on the ball team, dancing, art, music, whatever your area of life is. I want to bring peace. But you got to surrender to me, Christ says, otherwise there's not going to be peace. Well, why is that, Jesus? Well, it's real simple. The reason I can't live at peace is because I know how to exercise self-assertion. And you and I live in a culture that does a really good job teaching self-assertion. Be yourself. Be authentic. Yes, that's important, authenticity. But often what is meant is you just cram your style down people's throats. Well, that's going to lead to a great marriage, isn't it? If I cram my style down my wife's throat, do you think that's going to lead to a healthy marriage? Nope, sure isn't. Instead of self-assertion, Jesus teaches self-denial. He says in Mark 8:34-38, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself, pick up his cross, and follow me. That is the antithesis of self-assertion. That is saying, I am slowly learning to put your interests before my own. We're going to be a team, and in order to be a teammate, we're not going to fight each other. We're not going to criticize each other. We're not going to have contempt for each other. Instead, we're going to learn to love each other, to be committed to each other, to sacrifice for each other. And that's all the opposite of self-assertion. Because self-assertion is my way or the highway. Self-assertion is, I am the greatest, I am the best, and maybe you'll achieve my level of superiority. No, I'm not the greatest, no, I'm not the best, Jesus is. And when I learn to submit to Him, He fills me with His love. And because I'm filled with His love, my love for my wife is not dependent upon me being a great guy, and it's not depending on how great she is. It's dependent upon Christ's love for me. And that, my friend, is why we worship. That's why we read the Bible. That's why we learn to pray. Because it's all about relationships, isn't it? And I don't care what kind of fancy car you drive. I don't care how big your stock portfolio is or your bank account. It's all about relationships. But you got to think, don't you? Because materialism is a hook, and it'll hook itself right into you, and you will live for money and the comfortable, cushy lifestyle that money brings. And Jesus says, no, don't buy that hook. Instead, you live for me, Christ says. And making money is good. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you live for money and turn it into an idol, it'll eat your lunch. Don't do it, Christ says. Instead, allow me to love on you, learn to work hard and make money, and then learn to be generous and to give away to help other people. Yeah, it was Jesus who said, "It is more blessed to give than it is to receive." And that's a paradox. That's counterintuitive. It often seems to me, no, it's far better to get for Cliffe than it is to give to others. And that's a lie. You see, Jesus calls us to himself. He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you'll find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." Is it time for you to come to Jesus?